with Denis Villeneuve mentioning recently that he was interested in adapting Dune Messiah after Dune Part Two is out, it got me thinking about the only previous adaptation of Dune Messiah and its subsequent book, Children of Dune, which aired originally in 2003. Obviously, just before we carry on, if you've only watched Dune Part 1 and you don't want to be spoiled, you don't really want to watch this, and perhaps wait until after Dune Part 2 has come out before you even consider watching this.
"12 years of war. 12 years since Emperor Shaddam IV was defeated, and Paul Muad'Dib's wild Fremen spread out across the universe, exterminating all that remained of the old Imperial armies, colonizing the planets of the known universe one by one under his rule."
But anyway, so originally it was aired March 16th, 2003, produced on a budget of $20 million, with most of the original actors from the first miniseries, which came out in 2000, reprising their role, including Alec Newman as Paul Atreides, Judy Cox as Princess Irulan, and McNeice as the Baron Harkonnen. There was a change of actor in terms of Lady Jessica, who was replaced by Alice Kruger, and then we had the roles of Leto and Ghanima, portrayed by James McAvoy and Jessica Brooke in this miniseries. So as I said, this is the only attempt adapting these books and series other than the original Dune, and you probably got to say, considering the time, they did a pretty good job, and you'd probably say these collection of episodes were better than the original. You could probably say that they had a bit more time with the actors and they learned to tone down the costumes a little bit, because in the first Dune adaptation for Sci-Fi, the costumes were very flamboyant, and they had a lot of time to build in with this mini-series, so it totals in at about 4.5 hours. Possibly you could look at, if Denis Villeneuve does adapt Dune Messiah, it probably would be like a 3-hour film, while this one is looking at an hour and a half, so it could be more comprehensive if he does get to it. The overall budget for Children of Dune miniseries was $20 million, so if you judge by inflation, compared to today's figures, that's about $33 million. So then June 2021 had a budget of $165 million, which again, budget a couple of years is about $185. So the adaptation was produced on nearly a fifth of the budget. So you say that I think they did a pretty good job based upon that. The second miniseries also saw the introduction of Susan Sarandon and, as previously mentioned, James McAvoy as Wensica Carino and Leto Atreides. I think both these actors did a great job, and you could probably forgive the incorrect ages for these characters, as Irulan is supposed to be the elder sister, obviously portrayed by Judy Cox, was quite a bit younger than Susan Sarandon, and of course Leto should be a young child, really. I mean, to be fair, with the complex material that James McAvoy and Jessica Brooks had to do for Leto and Ghanima, I think it's perfectly reasonable to age up the characters for that role. I mean, in fact, it's just a shame that James McAvoy didn't get any further with Dune, because he did such a fantastic job as Leto, and we didn't get to see him more in further roles. I mean, even in fact, returning actors like Paul Newman and McNeice were quite delightful, with Paul Newman probably fitting Paul Atreides better in the Children of Dune miniseries rather than in the original role, because it is a further decade later, and Newman is closer to the age of his character in the book, which, while in the original series he's portraying a teenager when he's in his mid-20s, so that works quite well. And then Ian McNeice, his return, mostly due to obviously the character's original death in Dune, it's mostly him involved with Arya's actress Danielle Amavia, who portrays the adult Arya as she descends into madness. I did enjoy her performance, but you could understand some claims of overacting. I mean, the mini-series was a massive hit for Sci-Fi, for the Sci-Fi series, and it's probably still one of the biggest events they've ever portrayed. I mean, it is just a shame that they've shifted away from Sci-Fi and are more keen on reality TV, straight-to-TV movies. Perhaps if there hadn't been a media shake-up at the time, maybe we could have got the adaptations of God Emperor, Heretics, Chapter, etc. Maybe even McAvoy could have returned as Leto in God Emperor. Maybe they could get a cameo if they do. Maybe portray God Emperor in the future, fingers crossed. I mean, overall, you'd probably say Children of Dune is a good adaptation of the source material and a good watch for Dune fans. I mean, I've got the Blu-ray, but it's also available on some streaming services, like it's here in the UK, it's available on Prime. Maybe perhaps just say before, if you go back to watch it, set your expectations beforehand, because some of the CGI is not that great, but the sets and the costumes I still think work pretty well. Fairly well grounded, not as flamboyant as the first series. I don't think it's aged too badly. Obviously, of course, if you are new around here, please subscribe to the channel. It'd be great to keep you around. Hopefully talk about more Dune news and other sci-fi material in the future. But yeah, thanks for taking time to listen to this. Please subscribe and chat with you soon. Thanks, goodbye.